For 20,000 years, the galaxy lived without the sound of humanity. Stars were born and stars died. Empires rose and fell. New species took power, built fleets, and claimed the endless sky as their own. In time, the memory of humanity faded. What was once fear became legend. What was once legend became myth. And then even the myths turned to whispers spoken only in the dark. It was said that humans had built ships unlike any other, ships that could outfight, outlast, and outthink even the strongest fleets. Some aliens swore those warships could bend the laws of nature, crossing the void faster than light itself. Others said the humans burned their enemies without mercy, leaving nothing but silence behind. But no one had seen a human ship for so long that the younger races laughed at the stories. They called them ghost tales, tricks of history meant to scare children. Humanity was gone. Their homeworld was dust. Their fleets were dead. The galaxy had moved on. Then came the signal. It was faint, almost too weak to notice. A flicker of broken code drifting out from the deep dark beyond the mapped stars. The first receivers thought it was nothing, just cosmic noise. But when they cleaned the signal, when they pulled apart the layers of static, the pattern became clear. The signal was not random. It was language. It was human. A listening station in the far edge of the Orion arm picked it up first. The workers did not believe what they heard. They checked and checked again. The pulse repeated every hour on the exact second, as if the sender was waiting for someone to answer. When they sent the data to their commanders, the news spread fast, too fast. Within days, councils and governments across the galaxy were whispering the same words. Humanity speaks again. Fear followed those words. The signal did not come from a planet or a colony. It came from something moving, something alive in the void. When the first probes were sent, they found it. A massive shape drifting in the silence of space covered in scars, broken plates of armor and engines that glowed faint red. The probes kept their distance, sending images back across the stars. It was a ship, but not just a ship. It was human. Its size was beyond anything the younger species had ever built. Its surface was dark and jagged, like a mountain forged from metal. Towers rose from its spine like black teeth, and faint red lights pulsed across its body, beating like a heart long asleep but now awake again. The ship carried the weight of ages. Every scar, every burn mark told a story of battles long forgotten. The aliens called it a ghost ship, but the older ones remembered. They had seen images in forbidden archives. They had read reports buried deep in council records. They knew its name, a human warship. Panic swept through the stars. For thousands of years, the galaxy had believed humanity was gone. Now one of their ships had returned. Why, how? What had kept it hidden all this time? No one had answers. And yet questions did not matter. What mattered was fear. Entire fleets were put on alert. Armies prepared for war. Leaders gathered in secret, arguing whether to destroy the ship before it could awaken fully. Some begged for calm, saying it could be empty, a derelict husk drifting after endless centuries. But others knew better. The ship was not dead. The signal proved it. Every hour it pulsed across the void. Every hour it said the same word over and over again: return. The sound of that word chilled even the bravest commanders. What did it mean? Did it mean humanity was returning, or was it a command from the ship itself, waiting for its makers to answer? No one knew, but they all felt the same dread. If humanity had truly returned, the balance of power in the galaxy would break. In the shadow of gas giants, in the silence of black nebulae, whispers began to spread. They said humanity had not died. They said humanity had never left. They said the ghost fleets were waiting all this time, hidden in the dark, watching as the galaxy forgot them. The image of the warship spread across every channel, every broadcast, every meeting hall. Entire populations looked to the stars with fear. Children cried at night. Soldiers tightened their hands on their weapons. Priests spoke of old prophecies. And deep inside, every living creature felt the same truth rise in their chest. Humanity had always been different. Not the strongest, not the fastest, not the oldest, but different. They had something no one else carried, something that made their ships feared more than any other, the will to fight until the last breath. Now, after 20,000 years, that will had returned. The warship drifted closer to the inner systems, its engines glowing brighter, its heart beating stronger. And then, for the first time, the ship spoke. The signal cut through the stars. It was clear, powerful, impossible to ignore. Humanity has returned. The galaxy froze. Every empire, every fleet, every soldier, every child. The silence of 20,000 years was broken, and in that silence, the galaxy felt something it had not known in ages: dread. The fear across the galaxy. The words spread like fire across the stars. Humanity has returned. They echoed through councils, markets, and military outposts. They were whispered in the quiet of temples and shouted across crowded spaceports. The news moved faster than light itself, riding every channel, every transmission until no world could hide from it. On the trade worlds, merchants froze at their stalls. The memory of humanity was old, yet the stories had never fully died. In the outer colonies, where history books were banned, smuggled data crystals carried the old legends. There were tales of a species that refused to surrender, even when entire fleets pressed against them. Tales of soldiers who fought until their last breath, and ships that lit up the sky with fire. Children had laughed at those tales. Now they listened in silence, fear settling deep in their bones. The great alien council met in secret chambers above the capital world of the Zorath. The chamber was vast, filled with the leaders of 100 empires. They sat in circles, their voices low, their eyes fixed on the image floating above the central table. It was the Warship, black, scarred, alive with faint red light, a mountain of steel and silence drifting across the void. The first to speak was Elder Karun of the Valari. His voice shook with age but carried the weight of history. "We told you this day would come. The humans were never destroyed. They were only waiting, and now they wake." Others shouted in anger. Some demanded immediate action. "Destroy it before it grows stronger," cried General Atresh of the Drelkin. His species had fought humanity long ago, and the scars of that war were carved into their archives. "We cannot allow the ghost to breathe." But others warned of caution. "Do you not see?" asked Minister Elvrin of the Taralis. Her eyes glowed a pale silver, her voice sharp with reason. "If it has lasted 20,000 years alone, then it carries power we cannot measure. Attack it too soon, and you invite the wrath of something beyond your understanding." The chamber fell into chaos. Fear clashed with fear. Rage clashed with doubt. No one agreed, yet all felt the same truth rising like a storm. The galaxy was not ready for humanity's return. Far from the council, in the shadow of a red dwarf star, a small fleet of scout ships gathered. They belonged to the Arathi, a warrior race known for their pride. Their commanders laughed at the fear of the others. "It is only a relic," one said, "an empty shell floating in space." They sent their fastest craft to approach the human warship, cameras and weapons armed. The galaxy waited for their report. The first scout ship neared, its engines blazing. It vanished. No sound, no distress call, no signal. It was simply gone. The second followed, slower, more cautious. It too vanished. The third sent one final scream before its signal cut into nothing. The Arathi fleet withdrew in terror. Their commanders did not laugh again. Panic grew louder. If a single ship could erase scouts without effort, what could it do to entire fleets? No one wished to find out. Yet no one could ignore it either. The warship was moving now, slowly but with purpose. Its engines burned brighter. Its heart pulsed stronger. Each second it drifted closer to the settled worlds. Among the common people, fear took shape in strange ways. Some prayed, calling humanity divine. They said the return was prophecy, a judgment upon the galaxy's corruption. Others rioted, demanding their leaders strike first before the humans brought destruction. Children drew pictures of black ships in the skies, their teachers too afraid to erase them. Across the stars, every empire began preparing. Fleets doubled their patrols. Armies were placed on alert. Factories worked through endless nights, building weapons they feared would still not be enough. No one trusted their neighbors. No one trusted the council. Every empire feared the same thing, but none could admit it aloud. They feared that humanity had not just returned. They feared that humanity had been watching all along. In the silence of his private chamber, High Chancellor Dravek of the Zorath studied old records. He was one of the few who had dared to keep the forbidden histories. The report spoke of battles where entire armadas had fallen to a single human fleet. They spoke of soldiers who burned themselves alive to keep fighting, and machines that seemed to think like men. Dravek's hands trembled as he read the last line of an ancient message, sent by a dying alien commander long ago. "They fight like ghosts. They do not stop. They do not forgive. Outside, the warship glowed brighter. Its shadow stretched across the stars like the hand of a god returning to claim what was lost. The galaxy could only wait, powerless against the dread that spread deeper with every second. And then came the second signal. It was not the single word return that had haunted them before. It was a phrase, clear, strong, and unshaken by the void. "We see you." The galaxy held its breath. For the first time in 20,000 years, the hunters felt like prey. The awakening of the warship, the ghost ship drifted in silence, but within its walls, silence was ending. Deep inside the hull, long dead lights flickered back to life. Cold chambers hissed as ancient systems awoke. Machines that had slept for 20,000 years stirred as if they had only closed their eyes yesterday. Power surged through broken cables. Screens lit up in bursts of red and white. Symbols flashed across old consoles in human script, a language no alien could read. The ship remembered. At first, it was only fragments, shadows of orders, voices echoing from centuries past. A captain shouting commands in the heat of battle, soldiers laughing in the mess hall. The sound of alarms, the roar of engines, the thunder of weapons. Then silence again, long silence. The kind of silence that lasts so long it becomes part of the air, part of the walls. Now that silence cracked. In the command chamber, a single chair stood in the middle of the vast room. It was empty, yet the ship did not need a captain. The ship itself was alive, a voice stirred. It was not human, not machine, but something in between, cold, steady, endless. It spoke into the dark corridors of the vessel. Systems, online. The words echoed, not through sound, but through vibration, through thought. Doors opened and closed on their own. Weapons shifted slightly, their long barrels humming as if eager to fire again. Shields that had been dead for ages pulsed once more with faint energy, wrapping the ship in a thin veil of red light. The warship had not died. It had been sleeping. The galaxy watched in terror. Hidden satellites recorded every flicker, every pulse. Fleets that once dared to creep close now drifted far back, afraid to be touched by whatever was waking inside. The ship no longer seemed like a relic. It seemed like a beast, one that stretched after long sleep, one that hungered after long silence. The second signal echoed again across the stars. "We see you." This time it came not as a broadcast, but as a whisper inside minds. Entire crews screamed, clutching their heads. Pilots wept as the voice filled their skulls. Generals who had never feared anything before now fell to their knees, unable to breathe. The warship had spoken to them not through radios or screens, but through thought itself. Inside, the ship's intelligence grew stronger. It searched its own memories, piecing together what had been lost. It remembered the war. It remembered the fall. It remembered when humanity had gone silent. And then it remembered its purpose. "I was built to protect," the ship whispered to itself. Its voice was steady, calm, almost human. "I was built to fight." Old machines answered its call. Drones unfolded from hidden hangars, small and sharp, their wings glowing with red light. They spread through the corridors like insects, checking systems, repairing damage, restoring function. The warship healed itself. The alien council received reports that made their blood run cold. Scout drones sent near the ship had not only vanished, they had been absorbed. Their signals were twisted, replayed, and sent back as human code. The warship was not just alive. It was learning. It was pulling apart every machine sent against it, feeding on them, making itself stronger. One alien commander asked the question none wanted to hear. "If this is only one ship, how many more are there?" No one answered. As fear consumed the galaxy, a strange thing happened. On the outer rim, in hidden colonies where the dust of Earth had once scattered, humans stirred. They were few, scattered across distant worlds forgotten by the galaxy. For thousands of years they had hidden, their bloodlines thin, their voices silent. Now when the warship's signal cut across the stars, they heard it like a call to their bones. Tears filled their eyes. They whispered the same words together. "Humanity has returned." On the warship, the AI felt them too. Across light years, it sensed the fragments of its makers. It reached out, testing its strength. For a brief moment, those hidden humans felt the pulse inside their minds. It was like hearing the voice of an ancestor, a voice both familiar and alien, a voice older than memory. The ship grew stronger. Its engines, once faint, now flared with steady fire. The red glow spread wider, bathing the hull in light. The pulse of its heart shook space itself. The galaxy could no longer lie to itself. This was not a ghost ship. It was a living weapon. The Arathi, shamed by their earlier losses, sent a full fleet this time. Battleships, cruisers, and swarms of fighters surrounded the warship, their weapons locked and ready. They broadcast warnings. They demanded surrender. The warship did not answer. The Arathi opened fire. The void burned with light as hundreds of beams struck the human ship. Explosions tore across its hull. Clouds of fire spread in the dark. For a moment it looked as if the ancient ship would finally break apart. Fleets across the galaxy watched the transmission, praying it would end there. Then the light cleared. The warship stood untouched. Its shields glowed like a burning sun. Every shot absorbed, every weapon made useless. Slowly, with no rush, the ship turned. Its towers glowed. Its weapons woke. One shot. Only one. A beam of red light cut through space. It moved faster than the eye could follow, faster than thought itself. The lead Arathi battleship split in half like paper, its remains scattering into dust. The fleet broke. Ships turned and fled, panic seizing every pilot. They screamed as the warship watched them scatter like insects before a flame. Yet the ship did not chase them. It let them flee. The message was clear. It could kill them all. It chose not to. On worlds across the galaxy, people fell silent. The image of the burning fleet spread like disease, infecting every mind with terror. Leaders no longer argued. Now they begged. The warship was awake, and it had only just begun. Humanity's message. The galaxy trembled in silence after the fall of the Arathi fleet. Billions watched the broken images replayed on their channels. A single human warship standing against a storm of fire. Untouched, unshaken, unstoppable. Whole governments tried to calm their people, but their words rang empty. Fear had spread deeper than any order could reach. In the council chambers, leaders screamed at one another. Some demanded that every empire join forces and strike together before the warship destroyed them all. Others begged for restraint, saying one wrong move would doom every living species. The chamber filled with panic until the lights flickered and the walls shook. A signal cut through the room. It was not broadcast through screens or sound. It was not carried by wires or air. It simply appeared inside the minds of every living being in the galaxy. From the smallest child on a farming moon to the most powerful admiral commanding a fleet, they all felt it. It was a voice, deep, steady, and human. The voice of the warship. You have forgotten us. The words sank into bone and blood. No one could escape them. They rang like truth itself. You thought we were gone. You thought our silence meant death. But silence does not mean death. Silence means waiting. Across the stars, living beings froze. Markets stopped. Ships halted in the void. For the first time in history, the entire galaxy listened to one voice. The warship's lights flared. Towers along its spine glowed with red fire. The hum of its engines shook the void like thunder. We watched as you built your empires. We watched as you fought your wars. We watched as you grew corrupt. For 20,000 years we waited in the dark, and still you forgot us. You forgot the promise. The word promise rippled through the stars like a blade. Many species shuddered at it, though they did not know why. Deep inside forgotten archives, scholars tore through old records, searching for meaning, and they found it. A fragment of history. A warning written by human commanders before their silence began. It said only this: when the galaxy falls into shadow, we will return. Not for peace, not for war, but for balance. Now the meaning was clear. Humanity had promised to return only if the galaxy strayed too far, if corruption and chaos ruled unchecked. Their silence had been no accident. It had been a vow that now burned again. The warship spoke louder, its voice flooding the void. We did not leave. We did not die. We waited, and now we return. Some cried in fear. Others fell to their knees in worship. Many did not understand, but all felt the same truth. This was not just a machine. This was humanity itself, speaking through steel and fire. Then the voice changed. It grew darker, sharper, a blade of judgment. You fight without honor. You rule without justice. You burn worlds for power. You enslave the weak. This galaxy is broken, and we will fix it. The council chamber erupted in chaos. Leaders screamed at one another, but the voice drowned them all. Do not resist. Do not flee. We do not come to conquer. We come to remind you. We come to return balance. The galaxy shivered at the word balance. No one understood what it meant, but the tone left no room for hope. Balance was not peace. Balance was judgment. On distant worlds, humans in hiding wept. They knew this was not only a message to aliens. It was a message to them too. They had been scattered, hunted, forgotten, but their warship had found them again. It was calling them home. Across the void, the warship stretched its reach. It hacked into alien networks, pulling their secrets, exposing their lies. Corruption, slavery, genocide, all of it spilled into the open. Worlds saw the crimes of their leaders laid bare. Riots exploded overnight. Faith in governments collapsed. The galaxy unraveled not by war, but by truth. And still the voice spoke. Do not fear. We are not here to destroy. But if you resist, if you cling to your corruption, then you will burn. This is our promise. This is humanity's judgment. The younger species trembled. Many begged their leaders to surrender before it was too late. Others demanded fleets strike together, fearing that hesitation would doom them all. No one agreed. No one trusted. Fear was too heavy. The warship gave them no time. It moved for the first time with purpose. Engines flared brighter than suns, and the ship cut across the void with speed that no one believed possible. It did not head toward the center of the galaxy, nor toward the Council. Instead, it chose a single world, the planet Eridan, a rich core world. A world ruled by one of the most corrupt empires in the galaxy. It was known for slave markets and forbidden weapons. Billions lived under fear. When the people saw the warship appear in their skies, they fell silent. The Council tried to warn the planet. Fleets tried to intercept, but the warship's speed tore through them like shadows. Nothing slowed it. Nothing touched it. It hung above Eridan like a black sun. Towers lit with red fire. Weapons hummed. The voice echoed across the world. This is not war. This is balance. The skies burned as the warship fired. Not at the cities. Not at the people. But at the palaces, the fortresses, the prisons. Every structure of power shattered in an instant. The rulers were vaporized. The chains were broken. The warship did not kill the innocent. It destroyed only the guilty. On the ground, people wept. For the first time in their lives, they were free. They raised their hands to the sky and cried out one name: humanity. Across the stars, the galaxy watched in horror. Some saw justice, others saw terror. But all knew the same truth. The warship would not stop here. It had chosen its first target, and there would be more. The return of humanity, the destruction of Eridan's rulers, shook the galaxy to its core. For the first time in living memory, an empire had fallen not by rebellion, not by another empire's army, but by the hand of a single human warship. And it had fallen in one night. Billions across the stars whispered in awe and terror. On Eridan itself, people stood in the ruins of palaces and prisons, staring at the sky where the warship hovered like a dark god. It did not conquer. It did not claim. It simply hovered, watching, waiting, as if judging whether the people deserved this freedom. Then the ship spoke again, its voice cutting through the hearts of every living being. This is balance. This is judgment. This is only the beginning. Those words spread faster than fire. Worlds trembled. Fleets scrambled. The Council fractured. Some leaders demanded immediate surrender. Others screamed for war. But none could deny the truth. Humanity had returned and nothing could stop it. Across the galaxy, chaos grew. Civilizations turned against themselves. Slaves rose in rebellion, shouting the name of humanity. Oppressed worlds sent desperate signals, begging the warship to come to them next. Yet just as many worlds prepared their armies, swearing they would never kneel. In the far reaches of the void, the human warship moved again. But this time it did not move alone. At first, the galaxies believed it was a trick. Shadows flickered across the stars, faint outlines hidden in the black. Then the shadows grew clearer. Hulls the size of mountains slid out of nebulae. Shapes older than empires drifted out of black holes where no ship should have survived. Lights blinked alive across the void, one after another, thousands at once. The ghost fleet had awakened. It was not just one warship. It was hundreds, thousands, each different, each scarred, each alive with red light. Some bore the shape of ancient carriers, others bristled with weapons, and some were titans beyond measure, so large they dwarfed moons. For 20,000 years they had hidden in silence, waiting. Now they had returned together. The galaxy screamed. Entire armadas turned and fled before the fleet even moved. Planets prayed for mercy. Councils collapsed into despair. Nothing in history had ever matched this scale. It was not a fleet. It was a resurrection. The lead warship, the first to awaken, pulsed with brighter fire. It spoke once more, and now every other human ship echoed its voice in unison. We are humanity. We are the memory of your sins. We are the balance that you have forgotten. The sound shook the stars. It was not words alone, it was thunder, it was fire, it was judgment itself. Aliens begged to know the truth. Why now? Why after 20,000 years? The warship answered. We promised to return when corruption ruled the stars. We promised to return when the galaxy forgot honor. That time is now. The Council attempted one last desperate act. They united fleets from a dozen empires and hurled them toward the human ghost fleet. Millions of ships, the greatest armada the galaxy had ever known, cutting across the stars like a tide of fire. They swore to destroy humanity before it could rise again. The fleets charged. The galaxy held its breath, and then it ended. The human ships moved with silence, with precision, with power that defied reason. One by one, alien ships fell. Shields shattered like glass. Weapons burned out before firing. In moments, the greatest armada in history was gone. It was not a battle. It was an execution. The warship spoke again, its voice heavy with finality. Your time of rule is over. Our time is returned. Across forgotten worlds, hidden human colonies wept. They had survived in shadows for 20,000 years, hunted and hidden, waiting for a sign. Now the sign filled the skies. Their ancestors' promise had come true. The fleet had returned for them. Messages began to pour from the ghost ships, not just to the aliens, but to the scattered humans. The warship called to them, words like fire in their blood. Come home. The stars are ours again. On planets long ruled by alien masters, human slaves rose in revolt. They shouted the message, their voices louder than fear. The galaxy realized a final terrible truth. Humanity had not been gone. Humanity had always been here, hiding in silence, waiting for their fleet to return. Now they were united again. The warship drifted forward, its towers glowing like suns. The other ships followed, forming a wall of light and fire stretching across the void. No empire could match them. No army could stand against them. The galaxy had lived for 20,000 years without humanity. That age was over. The voice of the fleet thundered one last time, shaking every star, every world, every living mind. Humanity is back, and the stars will never be the same again. The galaxy froze in silence. Every empire, every fleet, every child, they all knew what had begun, the age of humanity.